let's go ahead and I'll kick this off. What we wanted to do today was kind of follow up on last week. So I think Wasabi mentioned in the agenda that there was kind of three kind of core things that came out of last week's call, and we wanted to give time to address them all. And two in particular have had a lot of work placed in them over the last week that we wanted to share back with the group. And so I think this is kind of a general sense of what we talked about last week, which is like number one, like just kind of relaunching KPI options or iterating on it such to kind of continue on, but at the same time, make sure that it works properly. Two was kind of gamification of DIGG. So applying some sort of NFT game over top. And there's a lot of ways this could take shape. And I think there's a lot of people here. I saw Valentin join as well as Tom's OX. KSR. There's been a lot of really good ideas thrown out here. And so I don't want to try to speak to them as well as probably others could. I think there's even actually already a BIP kind of being formed here too as well. And then the third was like potentially, I think other ideas that get into more of like fiduciary kind of action, which could be potentially buybacks. We want to discuss all the ideas that were brought up, but I think in order of kind of priority and importance, we want to try to move with the ones that are going to be dependencies for others. So, obviously starting with KPI options, because any sort of NFT could layer on top of that. And then because both of those are obviously less from a financial standpoint cost than potential buybacks. So does that sound, I know not everybody can say yes or no, but just maybe in the chat or something, does that sound like a good kind of talk path today? Start with KPI, NFT, and then, any other topics or thoughts? Would like to kind of discuss them in pretty great detail. Okay, I'm getting some yeps here. Sounds good. Okay. So let's start with KPI options. It obviously ends soon, so there's a bit of an immediacy here. There has been a lot of conversation in Discord after last week. KSR, Valentin, and myself also kind of started working on some more thoughts here. Let me just kind of bring everybody up to speed to what's been done and kind of what we can talk about. So after that, we put together kind of an initial proposal, kind of draft proposal that was really focused on three core things. So from an objective standpoint, was continuing the KPI options in perpetuity, was also focused on incentivizing holders through a multiple, some sort of tiered multiple, and also incentivizing new positions. And I'm not going to say new buyers because, as you'll see in a second, I did a retrospect on the past 30 days for DIGG. And I think it's new buyers plus increases in positions. Most of the new buys came from current holders, not to be surprised, but just any new position, we also want to incentivize that as well. So in short, we've got a proposal we can talk about a little bit. This should be coming out later. We want to start voting on it so we can get this all going before the options close. I also put together a model that basically took a look at like our initial snapshot of distribution of options plus two snapshots on May 6th and June 6th to try to see if the math worked out. By doing that, I also was able to kind of do a bit of a postmortem on the KPI options for the initial phase as well. It was pretty interesting. So obviously the market was what it was, but very encouraging in the sense that 85-90% of the community actually held and or increased positions. What really killed us was the fact that one large whale, who will remain nameless, but I think most here understand who it is, completely liquidated their position. In fact, so much so that if they had not liquidated their position, we would have maintained, if not probably increased, Dylan knows who it's at, equilibrium. So I think many of us, myself included, thought that that would be a positive. It turned out not to be the case. But now I think we have an opportunity to reform the options for basically, the other 2,500 wallet holders to ensure that it incentivizes them properly. And so now that's kind of a core aspect of the iteration of the next options. And so the idea here, and I'll just explain this and stop talking so others can talk. The core idea of the next iteration is that we want each preceding event, 30-day rebase mining event, to inform the subsequent event. So in each preceding event, it'll essentially look at two factors to distribute options in the subsequent event. One of those will be, did you hold throughout that 30 days? And if you did, you will get a multiple applied. Right now, that looks like it'd be like a 1.4, 1.5. But in a sense, if you held, then you'll be getting 50% increase in your option. And as you can imagine, if this happens 2 or 3 events, like you're slowly distilling options from people exiting to people holding. The second thing we want to do is obviously incentivize new buyers, new positions. And in a way, we want to do this we also don't want to encourage too much gamification where someone would sell and wait 30 negative rebases and then rebuy to get more options. And so the best way we could think to do that was to apply a root calc. And so applying a root calc means it's going to level the playing field, but it's also going to incentivize incremental positions, smaller positions, and give everybody a chance, all 2,500 wallet holders a chance to make small positions, but get more options. It also is going to kind of make this a shrimp game, right? Like it's not going to disincentivize whales from coming in, but at the same time, it's kind of we're going to take control of this on our own and not wait for a whale to save us. And so the root calc, we could play with this a little bit more, but it's going to normalize it so that someone making a 0.1 position or a 0.2 position increase across 2,000 plus wallets could mimic a whale. And, at the same time, make sure everybody is receiving a decent amount of options from their small purchases. So how that works out in terms of whether it's 60% going to a multiple and 20% to new, 25%, 70% is yet to be fully decided. And wanted to talk about that a little bit here. I'll pause for a moment and just want to get general reactions from the group on this. Are we thinking about this the right way? Do we need to go back to the drawing board? Do we think this will incentivize the KPI options in the way that we're hoping, or do nothing at all? And this will continue again. Each 30 days, there will be a subsequent 30 days followed, and any remaining rewards from the previous 30 days would go into the next 30 days events. Again, distilling options down to holders with the multiple being applied, while also continuing to encourage new positions to be bought. So as you can imagine, like this was kind of a cycle that could gain momentum. And there's even been some other discussion about maybe allocating like 2-3% from Treasury to continue this ongoing while we're under peg. But for the time being, just want to make sure the mechanics of this sound, are fundamentally like don't seem like they would work. So just I'm going on mute and love to get some general reactions from the group.
Hello, guys. I'm not sure if you can hear me. So, well, I'd like to comment on this one regarding options. I think that's definitely a step in a good direction because introducing some recurring mechanics that give incentives for people to participate long term is definitely a good idea. But my take on the options is yet it's still very specific, and maybe apart from what is already considered, we should think about introducing simpler mechanics that are more easily understood by less sophisticated investors and holders. Yeah,
I'm not arguing that radioactive. I think the challenge with everything we're talking about here is that it's on the far end of the pool, right? Like this is not the vanilla DeFi stuff. All of this is complicated. The options are meant to be like a completely like the benefit of options is that they're an out of protocol incentive that don't play with the mechanics, because the mechanics are what inherently make a rebasing token true. Like you don't want to tweak things. You want it to stay true, but you're basically helping push behaviors in a direction. I think 1,500 Badger said it best. It helps create some artificial buying pressure in the short term. And just let's be honest too, from a risk reward standpoint, this is not something that requires a lot of capital. It requires human capital to kind of get this going, and then the treasury can support it. But it's not as capital intensive as like just doing buybacks, hoping that it changes the behavior of people, or throwing WBTC into a stability vault, hoping that changes the behavior. Like this kind of focuses more on the human behavior versus the throwing funds. So, but I'm not arguing with what you're saying at all. I think you're right. I don't know if I have an answer to it. I think this is just the most immediate solution to helping create artificial buy pressure, right?
Yeah, and well, actually, maybe this is a bit ahead of shadow, but I personally is not supportive about buybacks, because essentially this is zero-sum game. So if you just use protocol profits to buy back DIGG, you just provide exit liquidity for maybe people who are sitting in negative rebases, and this does nothing to attract new participants. So I think using the same resource for marketing, for different, NFTs, options, whatever. I mean, something that attracts new users, because I just don't see how buybacks contribute to long-term positive rebases. You maximum you can do is just one spike into positive, and then that's it.
I agree with you. I share your opinion. I think the beauty of the DAO though is that there's lots of different opinions here, and I don't want to a buyback or throwing money into a stability vault without any sort of like long-term direction. It's kind of like you have one shot, and then after that you lose all your funds. This is more thinking about root cause problem solving and trying to align behaviors with a direction that we want to go. That's not capital intensive. So I agree with you. Again, we want to be an open community though to all ideas, and so that's the only reason why. Not the only reason why, but it's not a bad idea. I just don't think it's the first idea, which is why, I think there's also other things too. Like KPI options is like an immediate one because it's in soon. And we want to kind of get this to a vote, and then we can at least communicate it, and then retroactively get all the financial calculations aligned so people get a new options dropped on them. But then the second one, as Tom's OX is talking about and a few others, Valentin, is layering NFT utility on this. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff there that we would like to talk about as well. Just kind of approaching this a bit in terms of like priorities and also just like logical dependencies, right? Like NFTs may or may not work, but likely would be harder to work if they weren't first built on top of like an options plan that works too. So, but I appreciate your thoughts on that, Radioactive. And I personally, between you and I share your opinion. Yeah, Poe, I just, in your note there, I agree with what you're saying. Essentially, the way that KPI options would work this time around is it's kind of distilling down options through use of a multiple down to good actors, as you put it, or holders. Like 85% of the community held this time around. The last 30 days, that's insane, in my opinion. I was actually shocked when I saw it. And not only held, but increased positions by like 50 BDIG. Like I know that the market and everything was like unusual in terms of bringing BTC price down, but we could have potentially maintained, if not gone above equilibrium. Again, not trying to put fault on any one person here, but like obviously when a major whale exits their position, it's hard to maintain equilibrium. That we have a blank slate now, which is why the second iteration of KP options can really incentivize the masses versus one particular whale, right? And so distilling options down to holders. Basically what we're doing is reallocating a whale's options down to the group through a multiple. And then by applying a root calc to all new entrants, it's giving everybody like a solid reason to go out and buy more. Like I can go out and buy just 0.1 more BDIG, and I'm going to get a decent amount of options, right? Through a root calc versus, a linear calculation that's basically incentivizing large purchases. We really wanted to try to focus on the group versus the like indexing too much on one large purchase.
Hi guys, yeah, I totally agree. I would just also add that the fact that 85% people have held this same percentage of people out there, getting the word out, explaining these KPI options to other people and other communities, like getting that hype going so we can get a positive rebase faster.
Yeah, we obviously want whales to come in eventually, but like this is basically going to give everybody who's kind of been part of this from the start a way to increase. Like the name of the game with DIGG is increasing your percentage of the overall share, right? Like I'm not saying price is irrelevant, but long term, if you believe in the product, price is irrelevant at the moment. It's increasing your percent, and so distilling options to like the true core community members holding, giving everybody a reason to continue buying. It puts the percent share of DIGG holders. It really puts it into the hands of everybody on this call. And then when DIGG starts to make its move, that's when we attract whales. But they're like the whales are going to be there because they're whales, but they're not going to get this like kind of early adopter incentive, which is kind of what this is, of the multiple and the root calc new purchase. So and that's when, again, this is highly speculative, but that's when you see like ample type movements, right? Is when the major whale comes in. So any other thoughts? If not, I can explain some next steps here. And I would like to give some time to others who want to talk about NFTs.
Do you mean the thoughts on options or on NFTs?
Well, let's close out options and then let's move to NFTs, because I think there's a lot of good discussion on NFTs that I want to give people time to discuss. I just wanted to give everybody an update on options really quick.
Just want to jump in here real quick, guys, and just say that, just kind of echo the thoughts that were just presented, in that this has been a really strange time in the market. So this is like, of course, this wasn't the best time to implement all this. It's been really difficult for a lot of people. There's been a lot of liquidations and things like that. So it's been difficult to launch all of this in the midst of such volatility. So I'm glad that the community is exploring like other options and not just laying it down and saying, okay, we tried. But I feel like this is a great first step for us to kind of learn what metrics we can use, and how we can distribute these to better, to make it more efficient. So I appreciate everybody here and everybody's thoughts and ideas, because this is, I feel like this is just the beginning, and it's just one way that we can use to help stabilize DIGG. It's not going to be the core component, but just a small tool that we can help use. And I think that the more experience we have with it, the more we'll know. I think the 3 months down the line, we'll look back and say, okay, here's what we need change. Here's what we did. Here's what we can do better. And anyway, I'm just grateful for everybody continuing to brainstorm on this and throw out ideas and not give up on it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, this is what makes DAO so awesome, in my opinion. This is what this call represents, is the very reason that, like, I love doing stuff on, like, this is my side job, right? I have a normal job too, like many here. And it's what brings me to it. So I think in terms of options, just everybody, we could kind of tie this off. I'm gonna, KSR, myself, and Valentin are probably going to try to wrap up the proposal or the BIP today. Again, it's going to focus on kind of like 3 general changes here. Like 1, continuing this in like month after month. 2, incentivizing holders through a multiple. And 3, incentivizing new purchases through allocation of options to new purchases. That's the 3 fundamental changes. When that comes out, obviously we're going to message it. I would just ask that everybody here, vote. If you're in agreement, please vote. If you're not in agreement, please vote. But please vote and encourage others to vote. And hopefully we can get this to the snapshot quickly. It has to go to the forum first for an initial vote, then it goes to the snapshot. And even if the current options event ends in the next 4 days, we can always retroactively apply options. So if this gets done, say in the next few days, we could always kickstart and market it, the event, and continue on, and then go back and do the financial calculations to make sure all the airdrops work, and kind of apply the multiples and share that with everybody, so everybody kind of has that context. And then the other thing I was going to say, this is just going to be my shameless plug here, but whether it's NFTs, options, or anything else, I would encourage everyone here, like after last week's call, KSR, Valentin, Tom's OX, they started like, hey, how can we help? Others here have done the same thing. Everybody can help in their own way, but I think I would encourage everyone here, if you want to help more on options, reach out. Like, I'm happy to talk to you. I'm happy to include. And if you are more like interested in NFTs or something else, then you'll get your chance to include as well. So with that, I'm going to close off the options discussion and move over to NFTs. And I don't know, actually, Valentin, I know there's some language barriers here. I don't know if you, KSR, Tom's OX, would like to talk a little bit about it, or if you'd like me to kind of share on your behalf. But I just wanted to transition over into NFTs a little bit, since there's a lot of some exciting things we can do there based off just some stuff I've heard.
Hey guys, well, I can speak a little bit of what we've been talking about. Sorry, not a native English speaker, so I'll do my best. And if I'm not clear on anything, you can let me know. So since the last edition of DIGG Dojo, we've been talking about introducing POAPs into like the DAO in general, but starting with DIGG. A few ideas came up. I saw also that there was some chat about with Valentin about NFTs. We are currently thinking this through, like how we could apply this to incentivize the community to participate a little bit more into the general discussion, and also like to signal the engagement or activity of each member of the community. And this would obviously have in the future some kind of reward or social kudos for the different members. So one of the aspects that we were thinking about was just what we are doing today, that is like participating in meetings or in BIPs, like receiving POAPs out of that, and then having some sort of integration with POAP that we are currently planning and starting to discuss. So if anyone has any particular ideas on how to integrate NFTs to do some cool stuff with DIGG or with any other budget product, that would be great. And on the other hand, it was to something that was already talked about was just to reward people who, for example, held the DIGG through a streak of negative rebases or some other event like that. It could also be retroactive. So yeah, that was like the general idea, and starting to use this as a filter to reward different members of the community. Yeah, I'm also available for any questions or any type of discussion you want to bring up. Just to be clear, because some people may not know what POAP is, it's basically an NFT you get for attending different events. And yeah, that's like the short explanation. And they are very cheap to distribute, and it's very easy to check if someone has it or not. So it's kind of easy to integrate.
Yes, everybody knows that TomzoX does these POAPs. So after the call, be sure he sends out a link and you can claim one. And Taco Cat, I think your point here is good around NFTs. Like, it's hard to gain momentum. I think it's the reason why, like, I think what TomzoX and Valentin and KSR have like discussed is really laying the groundwork for future utility. Like, by TomzoX, providing these POAPs, you have the ability to create like a Genesis 1 kind of like, if we do these 4 or 5 meetings, everybody here has 4 or 5 of these like DIGG tokens. Maybe we can integrate them later and create like some sort of arcade token, right? Maybe it's an arcade token that has utility. Valentin's point around NFTs, like, you could do something where you provide, like, we could work with different artists to procure and figure out what the cost would be to create some, like, maybe a really awesome DIGG Dojo, like samurai type NFT, or Wasabi's created these Badger Boys kind of like, garage, groundwork, organic, these really cool NFTs. Maybe someone wants to expand on it and create a really cool Badger Boy. Either way, like, creating these NFTs, figuring out how we can give them out to the community off things like days held. It's a really easy way, right? Like, we don't have to go out and farm on meme. Don't buy meme. We can just look at a days held, right? Have you held 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? And based on that, it provides eligibility for maybe one of these cool NFTs. But there's a lot of utility that can be layered onto that at a future point, whether we want to incorporate it into like other aspects of the community or arcade. But just, again, Valentin also has a really cool idea to kind of like a game, like a magic game tied around it, where maybe there's like different NFTs and they can be used for different purposes. All in all, I just think there's a lot of really cool ideas. And right now, I think the team is really trying to think about this at the ground level. Like, how do we just start implementing some of these ideas to create some basic, getting them out there, and then think about how we can continue layering utility on top of them. Again, I don't want to speak for you, TomzoX or Valentin. I hope I accurately described some of the stuff. I know, Valentin, you've asked for others to kind of speak on your behalf a little bit sometimes, so I don't mean to be jumping out too much here on your behalf, but I hope what I said accurately represents what you're trying to portray in some of the DMs.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's accurate. We are definitely, at least from my side, I haven't synced with Valentin yet, but we are trying to lay the groundwork and propose some ideas, and yeah, like, just keep collaborating into making this something useful. I think it's pretty accurate, and also opening the game for anyone who has like some ideas that maybe they don't have like the full commitment to carry them out themselves, like, just for them to know that we are embarking on a similar quest. So they should feel free to reach out and try to collaborate in any way they can, whether it is like promoting ideas or whatever.
I'm not sure I follow here. So yeah, I understand that there's a bunch of different NFT ideas being considered and discussed, but is there like a place they are accumulated? So, well, for example, I could take a look and actually maybe add my 5 cents. I mean, the specific ideas that are in development.
So far, we've tried to keep everything in the DIGG rebasing channel. The idea is we want to kind of like keep ideas everywhere so everybody can see them. I do think, though, you bring up a point, which is, as things become more concrete or real, it may require more like strategic approaches. I don't know if anybody else has any thoughts on that, but like,
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Because, well, actually, me personally, I was thinking about different NFT mechanics, and and about this buyback feature that was discussed previously. And actually, I have a small proposal I posted in proposal discussion channel. So basically, the idea is lottery. So this is draft, but the idea is the following. So as a DIGG holder or DIGG liquidity provider, you can stake your DIGG or LP tokens in a special vault to mine GG token. And then you can use this GG token. This is utility tokens that can be used to purchase different lottery tickets. And so, well, theoretically, there can be different lottery draws, different events, like, for example, monthly draw of 1 BTC, daily draw of 1 Ethereum, or occasional NFT draws. And it's up to you to decide where you want to spend your GG tokens that you got from holding DIGG. And then you can just participate in lottery draws on the permanent basis. So I thought about it as opposed to buybacks, because this is something that could attract smaller DIGG holders and gamify their experience. So you're not just holding DIGG, you are getting this token, and then you can decide in which lottery draws you want to participate. Maybe you're more interested in NFTs. Maybe you want to take your chances to win, for example, daily draw of 1 Ethereum, or you want to accumulate your GG tokens and go big and participate in draw of 1 BTC on a monthly basis. So something like that, this is something that could create a bit of a vibe around DIGG and attract maybe a few hundred new participants who could naturally, bring some buying power into the market. And also this could have some additional, marketing effect. Actually, I posted the description in the proposal discussion. This is the latest post there.
No, I really like that. And I'm actually thinking out loud here. I'm wondering if it makes sense. There's kind of 3 or 4 categories that I'm beginning to kind of bucket DIGG kind of concepts into. And one is kind of financial incentives, like through out of protocol incentives, or even someone like 1500 Badger, who's you're a much better, technical analyst than I think I would ever hope to be. Even through articles you've mentioned kind of writing in terms of financial speculation, but there's probably a financial element where we could aggregate those interested in looking at kind of doing due diligence work. A lot of what I do is go through comb through data to try to figure out how to make the options work, but also just to kind of go through and look at stuff. There's another side that's probably around
gamify that and do predictions.
Utility or NFTs, gamification, Taco, as you said. There's another side that's probably could be focused on just yield strategies, looking at other protocols and seeing if they're interested in applying DIGG. We could potentially try to find a way to create a synthetic index, right? IBBTC is awesome, but maybe down the road, not right now, because it's probably not, but maybe down the road, there's a way to create a layer DIGG with other, create a partially collateralized index, right? That hedges volatility even better because it's 3/4, collateralized and 1/4 synthetic. And then, so there's all sorts of ways we could probably, and then there's also just ways for everybody, I think, to engage in terms of marketing, ambassadorship, Twitter kind of communications, Discord. So, there's 3 or 4 areas here that maybe we could kind of start grouping into and, giving everybody a place, even on these calls are actually fairly large, 26, 27 people, if you start kind of breaking these down into areas where people are okay, let's really knock out NFT, or let's knock out this, it could create smaller groups where, I think everybody could even involve it more if they wanted to. I don't know, but maybe it's a bad idea. I'm not trying to say we should or shouldn't, just thinking out loud.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. Basically, this call is for discussing draft ideas and general direction. But if you want to walk through different specific pieces of work, then you need maybe a separate chart, or maybe some kind of an document that summarizes, for example, everything that was proposed on NFT. So someone could just take a look what has already been done or proposed, and then maybe pick up from there, or add his piece of research, or something like that.
That's kind of my only concern, I guess, with NFTs, though. Like you just said, look at what's already been done. But my main concern is that those haven't been fully brought to fruition yet either, sort of thing.
So, sorry,
Yeah,
can you repeat what is your concern? I'm not sure.
Just the fact that the NFT ideas were wildly popular when they were happening. But well, for example, the Badger Diamond Hands, the last round that happened, I'm still unclear on exactly. Besides holding longer, gives you a larger share of the pot. It doesn't seem like I don't know. Has the boost been applied?
Taco, I think what you're saying is this, and I think I agree with you. NFTs are meaningless unless DIGG is above or about like at peg, right? Like NFTs are no value if like we're constantly treading 30-40% under peg. And that's kind of the reason why, and I don't think anybody here would disagree with that. And I think even, Radioactive, Valentin, Tom Zox, they all agree, like, which is kind of why in terms of order prioritization, it's like the options are trying to artificially create that buying behavior and get us to that point where it brings in more buyers, it brings in more. And then like at the same time, really what the NFTs are doing is rather than waiting for that and then being like, oh, let's create utility, it can be parallel messages, right? Like we help try to solve, like we kind of use an analogy, we help, we're the options are trying to get like the leaks in the boat fixed. But we're not going to fix the leaks and then be like, okay, well, now what are we going to do with the sail? It's just that we have like two different teams working on two different things. Like the NFTs are kind of the sail to keep moving us forward and think about new utility, but we're also focusing on the boat's hull right now. And that's the way I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the way I would describe it. Like the sails are worthless if the boat sinks. So like right now we're fixing the boat, and at the same time we're working on an NFT strategy.
I tried to explain the NFT game if you let me.
Yeah, please, Anton.
Okay, this is a draft, but I want to share with all of you, and if you want, you can help to us in this bit, in the next bit of NFT game. And I don't know if we have another space in Discord or a group, but yes, you can you can help with this. And look, this is an example about the NFT game. Think in Magic game. I don't know if all of you know the Magic game, but you have a deck, and this deck have a lot of cards, creatures, artifacts, spells, and each card have a utility. The game with the NFT is to have a deck for DIGG, and each card of this deck of DIGG has a utility about rebase. This is an example. How you get this NFT? If you support 21 to 26 dates of negative rebase, you will have one NFT common creator. Or if you support 27 to 29 days of negative rebase, you will have a NFT rare creator. And then if you 30 days, okay, this is NFT legendary, and go on. And in the other, in positive rebases, you will have NFT. But look, there are two forms of Gerard, in negative rebase or in positive. In positive, if you don't sell anything and have 10 to 20 days of positive rebase, you can comprar. Sorry, you can buy one NFT common artifact, and this artifact is in a top of the creators for multiplier the rebase boot that you has when you hold the NFT. What is the rebase boost? If you hold a common NFT creator, you will have maybe 10% in rebate boost. That means if negative rebates happens, your capital only reduce in 19% of the total rebates. And if you have NFT creator rare is 50%, and legendary is 20%. And if you buy the NFT artifact, you can put this NFT on the top of the creator and multiplier the rebase boost, maybe 1.1x.
I think we lost you, Valentin.
Yeah.
I hope I'm
Yeah,
not cutting him off. And I
I
mean, I
mean-
perfectly understand all of that, and that sounds like a great concept. And my whole point is, it seems to me at this point, up till now, the actual intrinsic value of any Badger NFTs kind of has just been the rarity of it. You know, meaning obviously with the last round, the legendaries, which I think are only 10, are going to be worth more than the commons, which are there's 200 circulating. But besides that, is rarity enough to get some momentum going? I'm just not so sure.
No, and I'll be even harsher on that. As somebody, like, I'm very open about my support for DIGG. I'm very open about the fact that I farmed and was able to obtain rare and common DIGG NFTs. There is no value. Like that I think that's what Valentin's point. And I know that I think the main goal of the NFT, the focus of the NFT is not creating like another DIGG diamond hands. It's really, and I think Tom's OX said this really well, it's really trying to create the underlying structure. Like the NFTs, if they work like a deck, if you have different things like a POAP that could basically serve as a token later, or different NFTs that are based off different things, you couple them with other NFTs and you start to create a multi-tiered kind of NFT world that can be commercialized on the arcade. And I think I don't have an answer right now of how that could be, how that looks. I just think that it's not valuable unless DIGG mechanically gets back to where it needs to be, which is why, again, options take precedent in my opinion. But at the same time, rather than waiting for that and then being like, okay, now what do we do? I think the beauty about the NFT side of this is that there's 3, 4, or 5 people that they're kind of operating on the assumption that like, okay, DIGG's going to get back, right? They're like, we already know DIGG's going to back. So let's start thinking about how we can not wait for that point and start meeting DIGG at that point. And when it comes to that point, we'll have a lot of stuff to start sharing with the community. I think that's the takeaway, because Taco, no one's going to argue your point at all. I would be the last to argue your point. I agree with you. That's the point of, I think, this discussion.
Well, I mean, like, so as far as like a risk loss sort of kind of perspective, like, I mean, NFTs, it's something we could definitely try. It's not going to be hard really to roll out. You know, I don't really see any harm it could do. But I guess my main concern is I'm just not sure about how effective it's going to be. But that could just be something we see how it works.
Guys, I think you are missing one point here. With NFTs, it's not just about rational investor doing his risk-averse decision to make profit. It's about creating fun moment and creating hype moment. And if you can think about something that will just seem to be fun for people who might want to participate in that, that alone could create momentum into DIGG. So I think, you know, this is all that's an NFT is about, like providing fun, providing hype, and creating like sense of community and entertainment. So yeah, if you just think about, okay, does NFT make any sense, any value? No, it doesn't. But if you, for example, take a look at Bored Apes Yacht Club, does an ape has any value? No. Why it's sold for 5 Ethereum against the minting price of 0.08 Ethereum? Because it's fun. So, and actually you already have this experience with really cool NFTs, like in this gamification, like, you know, this Sega and Nintendo game stuff. So if you can like, you know, just push more in this direction and maybe add some potential payback mechanics, like, you know, you can not just have your NFT, but you can also use it as a yield booster, for example, or you can even sell it to someone as a yield booster, maybe even temporary, like 3 months yield booster or something like that, that could help create the momentum and awareness about the project.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Like, I mean, at first the NFTs may be something like more like a cultural thing, like some kind of bragging rights on the Badger community and creating some culture and movement, sharing on social media and like getting people's attention to Badger. And afterwards, we can think about more complex things like having some kind of incentive or financial value to that. But at first, and regarding like the low-hanging fruit, I think like getting it as a culture mechanism would be nice. Like something the people from the outside of the community or an inside on the community used to like signal participation or some kind of importance within the Badger community.
I mean, I think that's a reasonable idea, but I think with any sort of strategy that you try to apply anywhere, really, you have to kind of read and make sure that it's applied in the correct setting at the right time. And I'm not so sure that there's much of an appetite within the community and just in the DeFi space in general for anything without some actual like incentive to it at this point.
I think there's a couple people raising their hands. I just want to give Wasabi and Poopster both wanted to talk. Are you guys able to talk right now, or?
Sorry, no, I didn't have anything pressing. I wanted to jump in, and I really liked where the NFT idea with the multiplier booster was going, and I'm not like super informed when it comes to NFTs, so I would just kind of prefer just to defer to somebody else who has more experience here. I just wanted to say that I really liked the idea where that was kind of headed.
I think here's my takeaway. I know we have 10 minutes left. I think Taco, your point is valid. Like basically, I don't want to overly summarize, but like you're essentially saying NFTs there is no inherent value if the very thing they're representing is not believed to be valuable, right? So I think there's like 3 kind of categories here that maybe we could all break into and then use this call. I think there's like a financial area that like, my background is in finance and data. And this could be a lot of different things, whether it's kind of like helping with things like options or whether it's helping with like calculations or even helping with like 1500 Badger, like a lot of like just financial understanding of like stuff. Like there's probably this area that we could, aggregate into. I think there's a lot of people here, Radioactive, Tom Zoex, Valentin, KSR. I would encourage the 4 of you, like let's create like an NFT. Let's bring more people in. I mean, there's a lot of things here we can do with NFTs. My only advice would be like compartmentalize things. So as things approach, like we can kind of like do things in sections. But the 4 of you, I think, have a great idea here, and it could be like there's a lot of utility here that could happen in the future. And then I think the third, and I'm going to give Wasabi some credit here. Like I know he's having some trouble talking, but even when I wrote the article I wrote, Wasabi is he's in marketing. He can speak much more articulate than I can, and he can usually come up with much better ideas to kind of help get stuff out there. And so if NFTs or financials don't like interest you, we could always use more people just trying to think and build and grow community and like get the message out on Twitter, and having some sort of like DIGG marketing arm would be really great. And so I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts, but at least from a takeaway in terms of like actions to the next steps is like, we have the BIP coming out for options. Please vote yes or no. We want people to vote. And secondly, maybe kind of grouping out into different areas to kind of further embrace the community here and give everybody a chance to be a part of something. Sorry, Tom, so you wanted to speak. I'll stop.
Yeah, no. It's great what you said, and I totally agree. I just wanted to bring up some point. I know we are close to the other hour, but maybe for next DIGG Dojo. My understanding about DIGG is that it aims to be some kind of BTC pegged, but in a decentralized way, because today, like the way, at least from my understanding, the way we mint WBTC is like pretty much centralized, or it depends on a small party, let's say. So like I've seen like not much, I haven't seen much material like reinforcing that, the fact that DIGG is much more decentralized than other coins. Maybe I'm getting this wrong, so correct me if it's not that. But I think like some emphasis should be put into that on the marketing side, because a lot of people are interested into that, and maybe they don't understand the value, the proposition of DIGG.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'll be honest. I think marketing wise, in terms of value proposition, like until we show DIGG is making positive movement and sustaining that, we're probably all going to come off as snake oil salesmen. I think however we want to market it is good. I think marketing though right now around the community and the actions we're taking to help solve problems is like the most important, because, and this supports what you're saying, I think, is that, you know, like for a lot of these things, like in DeFi in general, like the value is sometimes like, yes, there's collateral behind things, and sometimes there's synthetics that have no collateral, but like a lot of it is built broadly on like a broader community, and like ensuring that the actual team has the funds to continue on, and the longevity in the community is kind of serves as a proxy to see how well and robust everything is going forward. I think that's really the biggest value proposition that comes to DIGG right now at the moment, is actually this call and the group of people here all working to help make DIGG work, right? Like that's the biggest thing that would sell me on something.
Yeah, okay, I get it. That sounds reasonable. So yeah, nothing else to say on my side, but thank you guys for putting this up as always.
We still have a little bit of time. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? Wasabi, I'm sorry you weren't able to chat today. I know you would do a much better job than me at this, but I hope I've been able to kind of navigate this call as best as possible and get everybody's opinions out there.
I mean, I just think the turnout alone is a pretty good sign that there's, you know, at least a pretty reasonable interest as far as the community goes and trying to make this thing work.
Well, Dylan didn't show up, so I mean,
he's as real as you or I.
You know, all joking aside, like it's funny because I feel like I know a lot of you as well as, if not better than I know even a lot of people in my normal job, especially via COVID, since nobody really is meeting. But I agree with what Taco said. I think it's cool seeing, like I really do. I mean, when I said, I think the value proposition for DIGG right now is more around the financial, like I don't know if everybody just saw the financial snapshot that Badger released, but like obviously the strength and the foundations financially from Badger in terms of revenue growth and treasury diversification, and then you layer on like a robust community like this for a synthetic rebasing token. Like I don't want to, I try not to speak poorly about other tokens because I don't want to speak out of turn for something I don't know, but I strongly doubt that other tokens that are as volatile as DIGG have calls as regularly as this, with this many people joining to try to like that all believe in one unified goal. So I think this is really encouraging and really cool to see.
I would like to chime in there because I join a lot of these community calls, or I try to anyway, and this is by far one of the best and the biggest ones that I've been a part of. So bravo to the community. Y'all been doing awesome here. Big thank you to everybody who joined, because I know in the middle of the day it's not easy to join. So thanks to everybody.
I'll say this in ending. I do think with OX, I'm trying to avoid saying names, but I think without the whale, this has got a really interesting opportunity that only people here on this call are going to understand or appreciate. Like DIGG has been through pain. I have suffered financial loss, if not more so than anybody on this call, probably like a lot. And I still am very optimistic and excited. Like DIGG has gone through and distilled DIGG holders down to like the true diamond hands right now. And we're about to relaunch options that are going to massively incentivize the masses to buy versus one individual owner. And there's kind of like this, like we've got an opportunity to kind of like GameStop this a little bit. Like this is true holders right now. And I'm just going to say it. Dylan is my roaring kitty. Like Taco. Dylan is the mascot of this group. He's little roaring kitty. So no. Okay. Too much. All right. I'll take that back. Anyways, I don't want to take anything away from Dylan, but I do think there's a really cool opportunity here to kind of embrace and grow on kind of what we're all doing. So.
Well, no, I mean, like we had to assume it wasn't going to be easy, because I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to say that you could have seen it coming as far as the unnamed whale, but I mean, the move towards more holders and less centralization seems like it would be a painful process anyway, but it seems like it's the best path forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just going to chime in for a sec. I think from like a marketing perspective, and I've heard some of the folks mention some stuff. It's like, you know, I guess we're not going to pretend that we all have the answers, or that, you know, Badger builders are devising some crazy plan behind closed doors or anything of that nature. It truly is a community driven initiative or approach. So anything we communicate is really to engage folks and have discussions like this to kind of, you know, come together and figure out some ideas and try new things. And yeah, I mean, we all understand some things that were out of our control happened and put us in a disadvantageous situation. But you know, I think once we sort of formulate some new plans, you know, we'll work really hard to kind of be clear about it from a marketing standpoint and kind of keep everybody informed as we go along. But I think, again, like, the best form of marketing or communications is having chats like these. And I think it's super powerful, as you guys mentioned, that, you know, we've had such a great turnout 2 weeks in a row, and looking forward to doing many more of these. And Weezig and Wasabi have been awesome. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I'm gonna jump. I gotta get on another call, but feel free. All of us are open to chat. KSR Valentin, everyone, TomsOX and Radioactive on NFTs. But anyone else, you know, reach out to us and we'll talk next week.